Okay, bearings question, and you were asked to find, by measurement, in other words, using a protractor, the bearing of B from A. Now, what you've got to realise is that for bearings, that word from is quite crucial, because if you're measuring the bearing from A, that's from this point here, that means that that's where you're going to put your protractor. Now, the north line has to be drawn at A, which it already is, so that's quite nice. And the angle then, remember, bearings are always measured clockwise from north. So if we look at which angle that actually means, clockwise from north, so here's the north line, we're measuring from here, the angle that we actually need is this one here. That is our bearing. Now that's quite difficult to measure. The easiest way, rather than measuring this bearing here, I'm going to actually measure this angle over here, because if I can find this one, then I know that the bearing is going to be 360, take away this one over here. Okay, so let's measure the angle. So move your protractor. So the center of the protractor is there. Let's just rotate it. So let's just go like that. So the center of my protractor is there at A. And then I'm going to rotate the protractor until 0 is on that line there. And now I need to measure this angle. Make sure you choose the right numbers. I'm not going to measure 180, 170. I'm going to go from 0, so 10, 20, 30. So I'm using the outside scale here. So I can see that this angle out here, let's just move through the protractor, is 110 degrees. So let's just get rid of that now. So this angle here is 110 degrees, which means that my bearing then is going to be 360, take away 110. So in other words, 250 degrees. So the bearing of B from A. The question now says C is another town. The bearing of C from A is 50 degrees. Find the bearing of A from C. So I'm going to draw, well, I might as well use the diagram that I've already got. Let's get rid of the protractor now. Get rid of that, so go away. So let's cut that out. Let's just get rid of the information that we don't need on here. So I'm going to get rid of everything there. Let's just rewrite my 250 there. Let's keep that. So the bearing of C from A is 50 degrees. So what that means, again, from A means we're measuring from here. Here's our north line. The bearing of C from A is 50 degrees. And I could use the protractor. There's not really any need, though. I know that if I measure clockwise from north, an angle of 50 degrees, that is going to give me the direction that C is in. So if I just draw a line now, I don't actually need to do this accurately. Let's say C then is somewhere off in that direction. And it doesn't really matter how far C is, but C is somewhere there. It's somewhere along this line here, so that this angle here is 50 degrees. The question then says, what is the bearing of A from C? Now what that means is if the bearing is being measured from A, we draw the north line at A. If the bearing is being measured, though, from C, we draw the north line at C. So what we need here is a line that goes up towards the north from C. Okay, so there's my north line. This is north. And I can really just use a little bit of work with parallel lines here. I know that this line here, the north line there, must be parallel to the north line there, because north always goes straight up the page. Now, if this angle here is 50 degrees, the bearing of A from C is actually going to be here from C, this angle all the way around there. So that's the angle that I'm looking for here. And I don't actually need a protractor, because I can see that if I continue, let's just go back to here, if I continue this line here and I make it go all the way down like that, I can see that I have an alternate angle here. If I look, here is my Z shape. This line here is parallel to this line here. This angle here then must be 50 degrees. I can also see that this part here, let's just do that in green, this angle from here around to here must be 180 degrees. So the bearing that I'm looking for, the bearing of A from C, which is all of this, must be 180 plus the 50 degrees here, so 230 degrees. So the bearing of A from C is 230 degrees.